seminar. This one is hosted by the International Association for Peace and Development, which deals with the clergy and of all faiths and matters dealing with the Korean Peninsula. Our moderator today is Dr. Michael Jenkins, who is chairman of the Universal Peace Federation USA and president of Universal Peace Federation International, also the host of numerous fact-finding trips in trouble spots around the world, particularly in the Middle East and in Northeast Asia. So we're really grateful to have him here. Dr. Jenkins, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry, and thank you to all of our audience for the International Association for Peace and Development. Vice President Duggan is in Las Vegas this week with an interfaith education seminar, and she asked us to take this forward. We're focusing on the reunification of the Korean Peninsula, especially the fact that we had a very wonderful gathering last week on the 27th of July, which is the 70th anniversary of the Armistice between Korea, the United States, and all the UN warring factions. We're honored to present the videos of two of our speakers there at that time. We're really very, very moved that they came out representing their embassies, and also the commanding general of the UNC, United Nations Command, CFC, Combined Forces Command, which is US, Korea, and all the 16 nations, and then also the USFK, the US Forces Command. We are US Forces Korea. I'd like to ask EJ to start our video. At this time, we'd like to introduce Colonel Young-Soo Lee, who was our guest speaker, and just an outstanding leader for peace. And also he's the official military attaché for research and development for the Republic of Korea Embassy in Washington, D.C. Mr. Cho Hyun Dong is the ambassador from Korea to the United States, and we thank him for allowing his attaché to come forward. General Lee, who's also a good friend of ours, is the direct attaché over all military issues, and Colonel Lee is over research and development. So I'd like to welcome Colonel Lee's video that was played last week at the Lincoln Memorial. I mean, this was live last week on the 27th. Let's welcome in video Colonel Young-Soo Lee.
It's a really big honor for me to be here in front of you. So, and I'm a Korean Army Colonel Young-Soo Lee, and the Research and Development Attaché at Korean Embassy. And today we gather here at the Washington Times event to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Korean War Armistice, a pivotal moment in history that brought to end to the hostilities on the Korean Peninsula. The Korean War was not just a conflict confined to a specific region. It was a war that resonated globally and drawing in nations from different corners of the world. And it was a testament to the power of unity and cooperation in the face of our adversity. And as we pay tribute to the courage and sacrifices to all those who fought, we must remember that the true strength of the United Nations in our ability to come together for a common cause to defend our freedom and uphold peace. And 73 years ago, numerous young individuals from the free world came running to protect the freedom of a country they knew nothing about, the Republic of Korea, under one banner of United Nations. And within 3 years, 1.95 million soldiers from 22 countries jumped into the situation of war. And among them, 41,000 sacrificed their lives, and including 37,000 US troops and 110,000 were injured or captured. a significant sacrifice. UN veterans, they are the true heroes of us all, who sacrificed everything in the most beautiful days of their youth to defend the freedom of the Republic of Korea. As you may know, thanks to your sacrifice and help, Korea has grown into one of the top 10 countries in the world. Do you know the, thank you. Do you know the 50 clubs in the world? It refers to countries with a per capita income of over 30,000 US dollars and population of over 50 million. Currently, there are 7 countries in the world that meet this criteria. As you know, the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, and West Korea. But interestingly, out of these 7 countries, Korea is the only one that was once dominated as a colony, while the others were former colonial powers that ruled many parts of the world. Today, the President of the Republic of Korea, Yoon Suk-yeol, delivered the following remarks at the ceremony commemorating the UN Forces Veterans Day and the 70th Armistice Day in Busan, Korea. He said that the Republic of Korea will continue to make efforts not only in the Pacific area, but also worldwide for freedom, peace, and prosperity, with the strong Republic of Korea and US alliance at the core. In today's world, North Korea continues to pose a threat not only to the Republic of Korea, but also to the entire international community with its nuclear and long-range missile capabilities. I believe that now, more than ever, is a crucial time for us to unite and stand together. Today, as we honor the memory of the fallen, let us renew our commitment to peace. Let us pledge to work hand in hand, transcending borders and differences, and to build a world where conflict is replaced by dialogue, and where understanding prevails over ignorance, and where cooperation triumphs over confrontation. In conclusion, I extend my deepest appreciation to the Washington Times for hosting this very meaningful event. To the representative of the 16 nations present here today, your presence serves as a testament to the enduring spirit of international solidarity. Let us continue to march forward together, carrying the torch of peace ignited by the heroes of the Korean War. Thank you for all, and may peace and prosperity reign over our world. We go together. 같이 갑시다. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Lee. He's an excellent leader, and how important it is as we're dealing with Korea to realize how crucial it was that 16 nations came together to defend to Korea, how important it was at that moment. The UN Security Council met, and the Russian ambassador did not come to the meeting. They had some conflict. They were actually boycotting the meeting to vote on whether the UN should join in to the Korean conflict. And fortunately, he wasn't there, so it couldn't be vetoed. He didn't miss the meeting, but he actually boycotted the meeting for some other reasons, and that opened the door for the UN to play a very significant role. Our next speaker is General Walter Skip Sharp. General Sharp was with us in the Washington Times Fact Finders, and when you take the commanding general of the US, Korean, and United Nations forces, the UNC, United Nations Command, CFC, Combined Forces Command, and the USFK is the United States Forces Korea. It's really amazing when you go in that kind of mode with, we had Secretary Pompeo, we had Speaker Gingrich, and we had the commanding general. with us, who was served in 2008 to 2011, 3 years. He was over all forces, and he stayed very, very active with the whole program. So General Walter Sharp gave great remarks there at the Lincoln Memorial in honor of the 70th anniversary of the armistice that was signed between Korea, the United States, and the UN countries. Let us go ahead, EJ, with General Walter Sharp.
First off, I really do want to thank the Washington Times Foundation and the Universal Peace Federation for both hosting this ceremony today and all that they do every day for peace and security and stability, not just in Korea, but really around the world. So thank you all for doing that, and really thank you and appreciate the opportunity to talk today. I especially really appreciate those that are here from some of the UN sending states that are representing some of the UN sending states and participating in this anniversary. You know, today really is a golden opportunity to reflect on the significance of the Korean War, to honor the brave men and women who from many nations who served so nobly during the war, and to raise the public's consciousness of this remarkable chapter in our nation and many other nations' history. As a former commander of United Nations Command, Combined Forces Command, and U.S. Forces Korea from 2008 to 2011, and as a very proud son of a Korean War veteran, I am keenly aware of the sacrifices made to preserve freedom on the Korean Peninsula. These sacrifices were not in vain. 70 years of history have proven that that decision to preserve liberty, freedom, and sovereignty of the Republic of Korea against communist aggression was not only in the best interest of the United States and its United Nations allies, but it was unquestionably the right thing to do. Today, 50 million Koreans live in peace and prosperity and are able to pursue their dreams and aspirations in a free and democratic society unfettered by the tyranny of North Korea. You know, Armistice Day's events around the United States and in Korea recognize the sacrifice and the dedication of service members who have and are deterring North Korea and defending South Korea on the land, in the air, on the sea, and in cyberspace. This year marked the 73rd anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War. Ever since then, service members from the Republic of Korea, the United States, and many United Nations sending states have stood shoulder to shoulder defending freedom in the land of the morning calm. Their sacrifices have allowed Korea to grow and prosper. The combined Republic of Korea-U.S. alliance and the 17 countries who today make up the United Nations Command have allowed Korea to become the 11th richest country in the world, a nation that believes in freedom, education, human rights, and democracy. It really also has enabled the Republic of Korea military to become one of the strongest militaries anywhere in the world, that not only defends South Korea, but remarkably is also deployed around the world. They have fought with us and many other nations in Vietnam, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, fighting pirates off of Somalia, and have participated in many United Nations peacekeeping missions around the world. The Korean Armistice was signed on 27 July 1953, ceasing hostilities, but not leading to a peace treaty. It's very fitting that the Korean War Memorial has been rededicated to with a wall that contains the name of over 36,000 U.S. service members and women and 7,100 Katusas who gave their life for the freedom of the Republic of Korea. The memorial also lists the 22 countries who were critical and fought as part of the United Nations Command. 17 of those countries are still in UNC today. These great men and women from the United States, from Korea, and the UN sending states must never be forgotten. Because a peaceful settlement has not been reached in all of these years, the meaning of the Armistice Agreement is not simply a tribute to those who fought and sacrificed to defend freedom, but it is truly a call to action, a call to uphold, live up to, and further their contributions by working to resolve this unfinished business. The alliance is critical and continuing to grow, not just because of the threats and attacks from North Korea, but as importantly for the desire of peace, stability, human rights, satisfaction of human needs, and freedom for people all around the world. The great troopers and their families sacrifice every day for the cause much higher than themselves. They serve for the cause of freedom. They are the true heroes of our age. Today we pause to honor those who served, thank those who supported them on the home front, and pay a supreme tribute to those who never came home. These brave men and women sacrificed everything, and we owe them everything, and that's why this country can never do enough to honor their memory. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this very special commemoration. God bless you. God bless America. God bless our veterans, and God bless our troops who remain on point in Korea and around the world. Again, thanks to all who have attended these and other Armistice Days events, and to all of our service members and their families from all nations around the world defending peace and security. And thank you for what you do every day. The strength of the alliance is truly through you. And as they say in Korea, kachi kapshida, we go together. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, General Sharp. What a great message. And you can imagine all the military attaches and officials from the embassies, each giving their message about the importance of Korea, the importance of standing against communism, and the unity of the United Nations. God bless the UN for coming together at that time, because communism was ready to spread over all of Asia. And we're so grateful. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bill Selig. Dr. Selig is the Communications Director for UPF International. He's responsible for UPF's website and all the news we generate in more than 150 countries around the world. He also serves as the Senior Editor of UPF Today and Dialogue and Alliance. A graduate of the Unification Theological Seminary's Doctor of Ministry program, he serves as an adjunct assistant professor of pastoral ministry and teaches courses in pastoral counseling. Spiritual formation and unification is his focus, and ritual and traditions, with particular emphasis on the funeral tradition of the Family Federation. Dr. Selig is also a board-certified interfaith chaplain who has worked in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and California hospitals. Dr. Selig is really a pillar of the UPF, and we're so honored to have him here. He's very, very well versed on Korea, on the situation in Korea, but he also has a very deep perspective from the more faith-based side. So welcome at this time with me, Dr. Bill Selig, Doctor of Ministry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins, and thank you, Larry Moffat and Mrs. Duggan. I was so moved by the Colonel Lee and General Sharp. What high-profile experts, and their heart is really there. I was almost in tears at the very end from General Sharp. Thank you so much. I've worked with Dr. Jenkins and Larry Moffat and Tomiko for many years around the world. I think maybe the only place we haven't worked yet is the North Pole, but perhaps we're not finished yet, right?
Right.
Well, I'm just so amazed by IAPD. You do such great work every week, a new perspective, new high quality people bringing new insights into this important area of the peaceful reunification of Korea. And I think Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, Mother Moon, is so brilliant and creating this opportunity, particularly for spiritual-based people, religious people, and the NGOs, because this is such a critical area. I mean, it really is going to be the way that the peaceful reunification of Korea will actually take place. Well, as Dr. Jenkins said, I have been involved for many years with UPF. I've had the opportunity to rub shoulders with very high quality people who have spoken on this issue. I mean, we really really are tremendously blessed to receive this the thinking of the top level people. But as a person of faith, I have a special affinity, a special feeling for the religious people. I think that whether you're a imam, a nun, a priest, a rabbi, whatever that title is in our society, the religious people have a special trust. We have the trust of the people. And in times of stress, especially, people will turn to our religious leaders. So we have this important role. We have the moral authority. So that makes our position even more important in trying to build the heavenly kingdom on this earth. UPF, Mother Moon, has set up these various associations, this being one of them with religious leaders, but for businessmen, for media people, for culture, but whatever activity that we do, the amazing thing is that underlying our work is a vision. That vision has been given to us by our founders, and that vision basically affirms the existence of God. That's where we start. God, we believe in God. We believe that God created us. We believe that God wants us to do good and build a world of goodness. So whatever activity that we're doing, we always have that underlying principle that's guiding us. And if Archbishop Stallings was here, I would remind us, he's always the one that's always keeps saying that we have been anointed and we have been appointed and we have been approved by God, he says, to build this kingdom.
Recording in progress.
So that's kind of like my introduction. I've been involved with the movement for almost 50 years, and I've seen firsthand how Father and Mother Moon are working to build the reunification. So I thought I prepared a few slides to tell a little bit of my story and how it coincides with the co-founders' directions. Well, I first went to Korea actually in 1980, in August. That was a long time ago. That's me on the far left with Dr. Bohee Pak. You might recognize the young Thomas Ward there. And we were part of a team that was selected by Father and Mother Moon to, which came to be known as Khalsa International. And our job was to learn about the ideology and to understand that Marxist or communism or Marxist Leninism has inherent fallacies, ideologically speaking. And if it's expanding, it's not expanding because it's so ideologically superior, but rather because of Leninism. It's the power of the gun. People are forced to accept communism. So we began to study with Dr. Sang-Hoon Lee, who was a key leader in the study of VOC, Victory Over Communism, and to develop a counter-proposal called Unificationism or Godism. And the next slide, please. So I was in Korea at a very special time. I'm sorry, can you go back one slide? When we went there, it was in August of 1980, and Korea was a very turbulent time. Actually, President Carter had called for the removal of the U.S. troops. This was in August. I believe it was in May that there had been a coup, a military coup, and General Chun Doo-hwan took over and declared martial law. And sadly, and then the next day they were uprising, the Kwangju uprising, and sadly, like thousands of students were killed. So it was a terrible time for Korea at that period. And so we were studying with Dr. Lee, but of course then we went to the 38th parallel to Panmunjom, where we prayed. And everybody who's been to Panmunjom knows what a heavy spirit is there. It's a very scary place. You're standing there looking with your binoculars across the way, and you look and you're seeing somebody else doing the same thing, holding binoculars, looking right at you. And you don't know if they've got a sniper rifle. You're just very vulnerable feeling. But we prayed deeply and strongly for this precious place, and the prayer to, to heal, to bring about the reconciliation. Next slide, please. So for the next 10 years, I was involved with teaching unificationism. And I had been a Peace Corps volunteer, so I had learned Spanish. So with my bad Spanish, I was able to teach, and our team expanded throughout Latin America and throughout the world. And I worked with CAUSA as well as other offshoots. There was the International Security Council, which dealt with geopolitics. And then there was the Summit Council for World Peace, which dealt with heads of state and government. And then there was AULA, the Association for the Unity of Latin America, where we had some tremendous good inroads with the Latin leaders throughout the continent. And it was a time for deep growth. But at the same time that we were teaching, Dr. Pak had sort of synthesized our teaching. Unificationism meant God. Communism meant no God. So the choice was either God or no God. So it was very black and white for us. But what was interesting was that, while we were doing this, God was working. We're a faith-based organization. So God was working and things were happening in the spiritual world. Next slide. During the 1980s, Heavenly Parent had a timetable. In 1982, the Washington Times was founded. In 1985, Father Moon came out with this astounding declaration. This was the theme of a program by the Professors World Peace Academy called The End of the Soviet Empire. Some people just said it was crazy. It was a crazy notion because in the middle of the 80s, the Soviet Empire was growing. It was powerful. So the idea that it would collapse, it was really quite unthinkable. But of course, history shows otherwise. By 89, the Soviets were withdrawing from Afghanistan. And by June, victory by solidarity in Poland. And then amazingly, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. So God was working in ways that we didn't understand, that he had his own plan to raise up the original mind in peoples around the world to fight against communism. Next slide. So amazingly, in 1990, many of us have heard this story, thanks to the Summit Council and the World Media Association, Larry Moffat in particular, and Tomiko Duggan, Father and Mother Moon were able to meet with the Soviet president, Mr. Gorbachev. And then the following year, or actually by the end of 1990, the Soviet Union had collapsed. It was the end of the Cold War. So the CAUSA teachings had a purpose and at a certain time in history, and they were successful. Ideologically, there's no question in my mind that ideologically we defeated the Marxist-Leninism. And when Gorbachev resigned on Christmas Day, it signified the end. It signified the end. And then the following year was the incredible trip to North Korea when Father and Mother Moon met with Kim Il-sung. And this really embodies our peace efforts. They had always felt that they had this artistic relationship with Kim Il-sung. And many of us know that Father Moon had suffered tremendously under Kim Il-sung. When he was a young man, he'd been put into a concentration camp for proselytizing Christianity. And yet for him to come back all these years later and to hold the hand of this man surely show the true spirit of Jesus, to forgive, love, and unite. That was what Father and Mother Moon, when they left Pyongyang, they made that announcement. We came to Pyongyang with this principle, which has guided us for our entire lives, is to forgive, love, and unite. And that's how they interacted. Father Moon said to Kim Il-sung, oh, you're my older brother. And Kim Il-sung said, yes, you're my younger brother. Let's call each other by those Korean terms. And they talked about things that only Koreans could talk about, because they said that, you know, the blood of Korea runs through us both. We have a higher purpose, which is to work for the peaceful solution of our country, of our peninsula. And so when Father Moon introduced these serious topics about denuclearization, as well as the reunification of the separated families and business opportunities, the things that they talked about in his autobiography, Father Moon said something like, when I proposed these ideas, he received them like snow melting in the spring, something very, very poetic. And that's how it was, because they had won the heart of Kim Il-sung. And on that basis, they were able to come together in a peaceful way and work for a higher purpose. Next slide. Amazingly, a few months after Kim Il-sung, the meeting, he invited Father and Mother Moon to his 80th birthday. And Father Moon said, well, thank you so much, but we're busy. Can we send a delegation? And so I was very blessed to be part of that delegation, along with Dr. Antonio Betancourt, to my left, who unfortunately passed away last year. And then there's Kim Jong-il. And then this is the former Governor General of Canada, Kim Il-sung, and then the former president of Costa Rica, and then the former president of Sudan. So we were welcomed by Kim Il-sung and shook hands and so forth. That the picture on the top left is me looking with the with Panmunjom, and that's the south behind me. So here I am. Years earlier, I had been looking north, and this time now I'm looking south, and they're looking at us, and there was demonstrations there, and it was a very bizarre kind of feeling to be on this side, in the North Korean side. In the bottom left picture, this is a museum in the Panmunjom on the North Korean side, and this is where the original armistice is actually stored. There's a display case there where it's stored. And there's also, sad to say, another exhibit. It contains axes, because during this period, and I think in the 80s or late 70s, the two Americans were out trying to prune the trees that were blocking the view between north and south, and the North Korean soldiers went out and murdered them. So anyway, it's a very heavy spirit there. I was glad to go, but at the same time, I was glad to leave. Next slide, please. I shook hands with the founder and then his son. And, it was the night before that we found out that we were actually going to be visiting them and having lunch. And I wasn't, it was hard. It was really hard. I talked to President Carasso. I said, I have mixed feelings. This man has so much blood on his hand. The deaths of almost 40,000 Americans, and I'm going to shake hands with him. And I really had to pray deeply that I was going to go there. Not just as I was going to go there as an individual, yes, as an American, and as a representative of Father and Mother Moon. So I was not just me. I was there for a higher purpose, and it was a very powerful experience. Next slide, please. So to sum up, on this 70th anniversary, the whole lives of Father and Mother Moon, half century or more, has always been people-to-people engagements, always trying to bring about a greater understanding of that we need to overcome our differences. We need to come together, because this is really what God wants for us. And the IAPD, the religious leaders, we have this important role to play in raising awareness and encouraging interreligious dialogue. And Mother Moon has suggested the need for a fifth UN office in Korea, and to talk about the reunification of the separated families. And we also have a responsibility to call for more humanitarian agencies. You know, after Father and Mother visited in 91, North Korea opened up. There were far more humanitarian agencies that started stepping forward, including Billy Graham, the Catholic Society, and Lutherans and Mennonites. And there are many humanitarian agencies, but it's been very challenging because of the famine and because of the COVID. So these are all just areas that we, IAPD and UPF, can get involved with and promoting, particularly advocating for the end of the conflict. And then lastly, you know, we have the mandate from God. We have the story, this parable given to us by Jesus of the Good Samaritan. And this is really what guides our movement, why we're doing this. You know, this is the story of the man who has been hurt, attacked. He's on the side of the road, he's lying down, he's bloody, and people are just walking by, a rich person, the priest, and so forth. But finally, the Samaritan stops and goes over and helps him. You know, and Jesus said, you know, this is the way we have to live our lives, because he was trying to help define what is a neighbor. And the Samaritan is the one who said, this man, even though he doesn't go to my church, or he doesn't look like me, he doesn't dress like me, he doesn't speak my language, whatever, he is still my neighbor, because he is created in God's image. We are all God's children. We're all God's family. So that's really what motivates us, and motivates myself as well. To build the kingdom of God on earth, we have to have that kind of attitude. We are all the Good Samaritan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Selig. What a great presentation. I am very, very moved. I didn't know myself, after all these years of working with you in the Gaza Strip and all over the Middle East, that you actually shook the hand of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-un. You're so humble. That never came out before. I just want to take a moment to thank you and thank General Sharp and also Colonel Lee. And I'd like to share just a couple photos from our program we had on the Armistice Day, the 70th anniversary. It's just for a moment. We had the Peace Road program. As you can see here, here's the 16 nations that fought together side by side with, actually 14 nations fought together side by side with Korea and the United States. And it was a tremendous effort. And there's over 50 nations that contributed as a UN coalition. 5 nations actually sent hospital and medical support and other support. So here was our wonderful gathering at the Lincoln Memorial. And it's just so great to see these great men and women of God. Colombian Embassy, the 16 nations represented, the Netherlands, South Africa, also the France and Korea and so many others. It was just really, really a special experience. General Sharp, of course, here is in the center, and Colonel Lee here is a lieutenant colonel from the ROK. And you can see the 16 flags here. Just a tremendous moment, and they memorialize it. I'm so glad we have these videos, Larry, because we can now, and even this program today can now go out and multiply as it goes viral, celebrating the great armistice that it came. But we are still at war, and that armistice did not conclude the war. It concluded it's ceased all hostilities, but we're still technically at war. But it's not just technically. There's a lot of things going on. Our Washington Times fact-finding briefings brought us to understand how serious it was, the efforts by North Korea for nuclear missile development, as well as also for the development of cyber warfare. And they're actually making billions of dollars in North Korea by cyber theft. We had our leaders speak there, and it was just a tremendous thing. Also, we had the Australia represented by Captain David Turner, the Royal Australian Navy, and our crowd there. It was just really, and it was great for them too. It was great for them. When you see General Sharp here, it's just great to see him there, the commanding general. Then when we had everyone together, Colombian embassy and France and the Philippines and Luxembourg, all these 16 nations, quite amazing. So I just wanted to share this great experience together here, the 70th anniversary. And I want to thank all of the embassies for supporting this, and all the nations and all the people who gave their lives in the Korean War. Over 36,000 US soldiers gave their lives there. And Korea lost hundreds of thousands. North Korea lost hundreds of thousands. China lost a large number of people, 500,000, I think, and a terrible tragedy. But out of that, because of cooperation with the United States, Korea has become the 10th largest economy in the world. It's the miracle on the Han River. I want to thank Dr. Sillig and Mr. Beal, and also Mr. Larry Moffat, our Secretary General, and of course, our IAPD group of faith leaders. Thank you for supporting this program. And Larry, God bless. I think we can really thank God that the war has not escalated again. And we're looking forward to that 38th parallel dissolving and have the people of North and South come together. That's why UPF is working that way. We bring enemy countries together. We do not simply try to have one side over the other. It's got to be balanced, got to be fair. That's why UPF has friendships with many countries that have diplomatic relations with Kim Jong-un and North Korea, such as Nepal and Cambodia and many, many nations. And we relate with Russia and China too. We have a Russia UPF, we have a China support group. It's really great. It's a tremendous thing. And even they've allowed this Peace Road rally to be run in Pyongyang, approved it because it was done by our Russian UPF ambassadors for peace, who are Russians, and they're allies of North Korea. So this is a very unique aspect of UPF. Bill, I'm still stunned that you actually were there shaking hands with Kim Il-sung and also with Kim Jong-un. I think we ought to conclude with Larry giving a comment of his meeting with Kim Il-sung. Larry, if you would be so kind.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins, and thank you, Bill Selig. That I know you've actually been to North Korea many times. I'm not sure how many. I've been twice, but I think that is dwarfed by the number of times you went there, probably with Antonio, who went up to 30 times. And I met Kim Il-sung. I did not meet Kim Jong-il, the son of him, and none of us have met Kim Jong-un. But I remember the time when I did go and met Kim Il-sung, and I believe you were there too. Antonio was certainly there. We went with a group of former undersecretaries of state on one occasion, and there was a lunch we had with him. There were about 20 people or so around there. Congressman Eichord was the one who led that, and I believe you were there, weren't you, Bill? You were there on that one?
I think I was not. Tom Ward was there.
Tom Ward was there. Antonio was there. I was there. And what was
Mark
impressive-
Berry, I believe.
And Mark Berry was there. Yes. And Gary Jarman. What was so impressive was that this man really knew how to work a room. He knew how to deal with a room full of people. He came to power, to absolute power, but he had to kind of work his way up through the ranks. And it was when the Soviet Union anointed him that he had absolute power. But this was a time when he had to solidify forces, and he had a combination of charm and force or whatever, but he certainly had public relations skills. And in the course of that lunch, he would work his way around the room, around the table, and he would just fix each person with this enormous bright smile, and like you were the most important person in the room. And he would work his way around there, and he was quite a charmer, and it was a disconnect. There was this disconnect that happened to pretty much all of us because, as you alluded to, he had killed thousands and thousands of people. He had killed many thousands of Americans and many, thousands of his own people, and had caused tremendous destruction. And father and mother talked about how they had to pray for quite a while before they went to North Korea, because they had to be able to just look him in the eye and forgive him and love him and embrace him. We went there after that. We went there about a year later, I think. Because after that was in 92. And it was 92 or 93. And it was, that foundation had already been laid by father. So it was easy for us, but still it was just an enormous, the whole thing was a giant spiritual experience, I think.
Yeah.
And it was tremendously moving for everybody who was there, and it pulled us in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, when I was there, I felt almost like on a Hollywood set.
Yeah.
Everything was the way, whatever it was supposed to be that way. If I was to bump into somebody, it was meant to be. Whatever I saw with my eyes, wherever they took us, it was all in the script. And it was a beautiful script they took us. But yet the reality is it's a huge prison.
It was
North
like
Korea,
being
a huge prison.
Yeah, like a big musical production number, but without the music. And we all felt that way. Everything was choreographed. There were no unscripted, spontaneous experiences.
Yeah,
Well, Larry and Bill, we thank you for your sacrifices and the risks you took to go to North Korea, which is never simple. And also we thank Father and Mother Moon for their courage to go there, and for Dr. Antonio Betancourt and many other people who paved the way. And now that magical script is unfolding again. Who would imagine that Mother Moon would actually receive from Kim Jong-un on the 10th anniversary of Father Moon's passing a formal flower arrangement with a message congratulating her on her work with Father Moon for peace, honoring Father Moon's 10th anniversary of passing as a great peacemaker. And there's still communication between North and South. Ambassador Detrani, who was envoy for the United States to the six-party talks, leaned over to me when that presentation was made in the Chungshim Peace World Stadium last August. He said, Michael, this is the only official communication the Western world has received from Kim Jong-un since the Biden administration started. That was interesting, wasn't it? The only official communication to Western world representatives that was that kind of formally done was this communication with Mother Moon. And that says a lot. The magic is about to unfold again. We will see a Pyongyang conference for UPF in the next couple of years. We're praying for that. We want to really bring all the nations together. Thank you for this beautiful program. I want to thank you all for your contribution here, and really been very enjoyable. And Bill, please continue. I think you have so much to do. Thank you so much. And Larry, thank you for putting this together. And to all of our audience, God bless you all. We will see peace between North and South Korea, but not just peace, the peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.